Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's been a while. Since Kahuna's Corner, even it's been a bit, but it's been a long time since I've been able to do an interview, and I'm so excited to get one going. And we've got a bunch lined up, and more to even get scheduled. So, looking forward to having these conversations. I've definitely missed them, and yeah. So let's get right into it. Here we go. Here's the set as always. And your host today, of course, is myself, KAHUNA'3, the classy picture of me there. And today, joining me, this player has 718 points in 292 games played in the CHL. He won the Brian Kilray Trophy for Manager of the Year in Season 38. He was a conference champion in Season 39, a WJC silver medalist, a great all-around manager, and great player. Owner of the Niagara Ice Dogs, SMS Fan 3. Welcome to the show. Thanks for doing this. How you doing, man?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on. But you give me way too much credit. I'm not that good.
Hey, man, those are all on your trophy page, buddy. They're all there. So definitely want to flex that stuff. Some of them were from the past, but hey, they're still on your trophy page. You got more than I do, so.
I'm a little washed now, but it's whatever.
Right on, man. How you doing today?
Doing okay. Been pretty uneventful in general today.
Yeah. Ready for the weekend. I know I am for sure.
Absolutely.
Right on. So normally how we start these, one random or interesting fact about yourself.
I am a little bit musically inclined. When I was in elementary and middle school, I played the clarinet up through 7th grade, and I can also play the drums a little bit.
The clarinet, nice, man. You know what? For me, I struggled so much with reed instruments. I wanted to be able to play the saxophone so bad in high school, and I just could not get it done. So, kudos to you.
Yeah. What was it? I believe it was 6th grade. There was some like New York State competition. I'm from New York. There was some competition among middle schoolers, and my music teacher had given me some piece to do for the competition. And once I went in to perform it, they told me that wasn't one of the options on the list.
Oh
So my
no.
teacher kind of screwed me over, but they still accepted it.
Oh man, yeah, that could have been tough. But so first question, how did you hear about LG and what made you decide to join the league?
Okay, so I had been playing club since NHL 12. That was kind of my first NHL game. But I started playing LG back on NHL 14 because I think some friends and I were playing a drop in, and then this one guy messaged me asking if I'd be interested in joining a Sixes league. Um, we invited him to the party, and he was talking to me about it, and everything sounded really interesting. I can't for the life of me remember his name, but I remember when you can sign up for LG, they have like a who recommended you um, like thing you can type in. I can't remember his name, but I definitely put him on there. Um, and I signed up for it was season 4 of the CHL. That was when the leagues weren't connected yet in terms of seasons.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, that's awesome. I remember, like I said this, I think before on one of my shows, like playing. I used to play. I've played NHL since I don't even know when, like the beginning of time. And I remember playing like some club games here and there, and like people messaging me asking me to join this league, this and that. And when I think back now, it was like probably something like this, and I always ignored that stuff. So I should have gotten involved a lot earlier, and never did. So, what made you? When did you first start managing, and what made you decide that you wanted to manage in the league?
Okay, so let me see. So my second season in the league, I went up to the AHL, and I got like tossed all the way around that season. I think, on, let me think, one, two, three. I was on 4 different teams that season between the A and the N. Um, I started on Utica and was then called up to Vancouver because I was doing pretty well there. Sucked on Vancouver, got waived, picked up by Nashville, waived, or sorry, traded to Nashville, waived again, got picked up again by Vancouver. They claimed me after having traded me. Got sent back down to the A, then was waived and got claimed by Lehigh, which I won a playoff game with them. Then we lost in the first round. So I didn't want to have to deal with all that bullshit. I didn't want to have to be like tossed around like I had no idea where I'd be. So um, thankfully, the manager who I was first RA to in my first season, LG, Hobo on Your Porch, GT91 is his tag now.
Hmm.
He was my manager on Vancouver. And so he had asked me for season 20 if I wanted to manage with him in the A. And so I took that up. I managed with him on Hershey. And I've always been into like management and like tycoon games or whatever else. So the idea of doing it in this league, which I now enjoy playing in, was like very intriguing. So I decided to take that on.
That's awesome. First job being manager in the AHL. Look at you go. So just talking about management, what do you think it takes to be a good manager in this league?
It takes a lot of things. I think one of the main things it takes is research. You really have to do your homework. Um, when it comes to bidding, I feel like you always want to try to put yourself in the best starting position possible because if you don't allocate your cap right to begin with, then if you need to make changes to your team down the line, you're not going to have assets to flip for assets. So I feel like it's very important to do your homework, know who you're picking up, make sure you got a solid team to start with. And it goes the same for trading as well. You want to research um, who you're possibly dealing and who you're also picking up.
Gotcha, gotcha. So with that being said, what's one thing you would give advice to a new manager to help them be successful in the league? Like, what would that be?
I would say you have to be committed because a lot of people don't really understand the responsibilities of it until they're thrown into it. And some people might have some regrets taking a management position because they go into it thinking like, oh, it should be easy, no problem. I'll just pick up these 3 guys and we'll buzz the season. Then all of a sudden bidding doesn't go your way and you're screwed. So it's really about like understanding what you're going into when you take that offer.
Yeah, no, that's huge, man. Because like even for me when I first took it on, I was like, holy, this is way more than I ever thought. And yeah, it's definitely a lot more than what you think it's going to be. That's for sure. If you want to do a good job, that is, I guess,
Right.
um, and build a solid team, and you need to definitely be committed. That's for sure.
And
Um,
like back in those Hershey days, like
yeah,
the first time I managed, back in those days there wasn't Discord, there was GroupMe. So you had to go and you had to ask every single individual player on your team for their email so you could add them to the GroupMe chat. So It was a lot harder
Wow.
to communicate with people
Yeah, I
and
can't
match the
imagine
ideas.
doing it without Discord, to be honest. Like, that's
Yeah, this
crazy.
this has been like a lifesaver.
No doubt, man. No doubt. Holy. Yeah, no, like it's hard enough with Discord and getting guys to join that and whatnot. So, um, you've had a bunch of successful teams in the past. Which team do you think was your best roster?
Um, I mean, in terms of playoff success, um, both season 39 Everett and season 40 Victoria, we both made it to the fourth round in each of those seasons. I would probably say Victoria. I think Victoria had like a better two top lines and better goaltending, but I think like Everett was deeper all around. Like we had Ponal just on our third line, like he was carrying that line. So I'd give a slight edge to Victoria though, I think.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. And you mentioned the Guelph Storms. Let's talk about them for a second. Season 38. With that team falling to the bottom of the standings mid-season, Freestyle taking that big ban. Walk me through what happened and how you guys rallied to make the playoffs that season.
Well, it was quite a story. So basically, I had Luke, aka Farabuzz, and Dezingle were on that team, and um, the initial plan was sort of to pick me up, but it ended up not working out and bidding. I went to its Jim's team, which was Sudbury at the time, and I remember I played club with Jim, and I think it was Ovi was the center, and we didn't really have chemistry. So my assumption was that I was initially supposed to play with them, but chemistry wise, just wasn't working out. So I was actually waived during week one, and so I was picked up by Guelph, but the guy who they waived played, so I couldn't play week one. So I remember their AGM Carlucci. I think he had made some comment about someone else's mom and it didn't go over too well, so he was swiftly banned. Um, so instead of Carlucci, the management group was now Freestyle, Dezingle, and Farabuzz. So I got on the team. The team was absolutely god awful. I had heard so prior, and when I got there, the rumors were confirmed, to say the least. And so basically, what happened was, I think Freestyle had lost two of his 4 games of the week, two of his first 4 games that he was scheduled for, and at that point, he essentially he threw in the towel. Um, and after a little bit of confirmation over whether or not he wanted to quit, he did in fact quit. And so I figured, considering the management group was two people who I'm pretty close with, I might as well stick with them because I'm at least with people who I know and love, and might as well help them out while I'm here. And what happened from that point on was I think we had 9 wins. It was 12 games a week at that point. You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, it
Oh my god, that's
was a
terrible.
grind.
Oh, I do not wish to go back to that ever.
No.
Um, it was 12 games a week at that point, and we had lost nine. We had won 9 of our first 36 games, so obviously terrible.
Yeah.
We had given players an out if they so desired, if they requested a trade or whatever else. We were totally open and honest. We said like, it's not looking so good here. If you want to go, just DM us and we'll do what we can. And we turned over the team a lot. The Zingle and I, especially because Farabuzz, I think was relatively busy at the time. The Zingle and I especially worked extremely hard to turn as many people over as possible, get people here that were at least competent. We weren't going to just fold. We weren't going to accept being shit. We were going to get something back for the people we were sending out. And from that point on, things sort of clicked after, I believe, week 4. And the attitude changed. We got rid of some people who were pretty cancerous. As the season kept going on, it came down to the end between us and Owen Sound. I'm trying to remember who the management group was in Owen Sound.
I'm guessing like was Death Grab in that
I
management
think
group that
so.
season?
I think so. Let me go back and check real quick.
Yeah, yeah, for
I'll look it
sure.
up.
No worries. I can look that up if you want to keep going though.
Cool. I got it. It was Dalaman, Death Grab, and Slayer.
Slayer and Slayer. I think
Yeah.
Slayer's watching right now too, so he's gonna love this story.
No, but it was primarily Dalaman, I remember. I felt really bad, like they had to get kicked out, but obviously we wanted the last spot, so not much you could really do. But it was a 5 point deficit in the final week of the season. And through the first two nights, it remained 5 points. So the final four games of the season, we needed to make up 5 points. So we either needed to go 3-1 with them losing all four, or we needed to go 4-0 um, with them losing at least three. But what ended up happening was we went undefeated the final night, and they went 0-4. So we took that last spot by 3 points.
Yeah, I remember like even just in managers chat, everyone was just following the Guelph Storm after Freestyle left. And it's like,
Yeah,
oh my God, this thing's turning around. Like it was absolutely crazy to come back from where you guys were to make playoffs. And that, I mean, I mentioned it early when I introduced you, right? You got that, you guys as managers got the Brian Kilray trophy for management of the year, right? And like I think that's one of those scenarios that like usually like top teams that get that, but like where you guys crawled back from was absolutely crazy. I don't think we still haven't seen something like that since. So
yeah, we put in a lot of work obviously to do that. We spent countless hours working trades trying to get the team right to at least make the playoffs. And then we put up a pretty competitive series against the eventual Mem Cup champs in Windsor.
hmm.
Um, let me think. I think I was in our only win, and the other games I think we lost at least 3 games by 1 goal,
Yeah, it was tight. I remember that. I remember that being tight. Nobody wanted to play the Guelph Storm that season in playoff.
except Windsor.
That's funny. Yeah, that was crazy, man. Cinderella story for sure. I mean, since then you really haven't put yourself in that scenario again. So, jumping over to the team that you thought maybe was your best roster, season 40. You guys had a great team. I thought that was probably, I would agree with you, is probably one of your best rosters you put together. I thought you guys were going to make it right through to the finals once Kelowna was out. But looking back to that WHL finals against Edmonton, is there anything you think that you could have done any different that would have swung the series the other way?
I really think it was like a culmination of a lot of bad things at once. I don't think we did anything significantly poorly. I thought our third line, like I said earlier, was a little bit weak, but they were starting to get their shit together. And on paper, like pretty good third line. You got lacking orbit hits on the same line. I mean, it's pretty solid.
Mhm.
Um, I would say in terms of the things that went wrong, one of the issues was our highest paid defenseman in Bread. He was one of the highest paid prospects, had a really good season. Pretty sure the dude was 15 when we picked him up. He's a kid. Um, he suffered an IRL like concussion before the games, so he could like barely look at the TV screen. And his man ended up scoring the OT winner in a game against us. So Duke could barely look at the fucking TV screen during that game. Felt
Oh
terrible for
no.
him. And then I think it was game three was the game that Butter and I were in. Butter was our GM that season,
Yep.
and I remember I think we were up early, and then everything kind of just fell apart in the third. And I remember RL, who was my left wing that season with Butter as my right D. RL like kind of was hitting a guy in the corner, but he wasn't hitting him. He kind of just like bounced off of him, and he got a slash without even hitting the A button, which resulted in them scoring. I think that was the game winner. I think that was their fifth goal they scored on that power play. Um, and then in game seven, there was a bunch of shit that happened. Game seven, um, we let in 3 goals on the first, I believe, 3 or 4 shots of the game. In a game where we only allowed 6 shots. So we took a timeout at that point and then completely shut off Edmonton for the rest of that game for the most part. Um, I remember Casey actually had, the elite controller glitch?
Yep.
Yeah, he had that in game seven. He was like
Uh,
stuck in place, couldn't get his controller working. And I specifically remember, actually, it's pretty funny. Um, Schwepty did like a recap of the game on some media stream. I'm not totally sure, but I remember him kind of like speeding the game up and he like didn't even notice the case. He was just standing there totally still. And then he took a penalty like right as he got out of it because he was just getting his controller back.
Yeah.
Then he said like, "Oh, bad pen by Casey there." And I'm like, do you not notice he's fucking stuck in
He's
place as a
stuck.
statue?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that happened, and then towards the end of the game, I remember I like rolled my eyes up to the back of my head. Um, there was a play, I believe, from Farabus to Carms, and it was a point blank, like slot to left post one timer with gold one timer the Carms had,
Hmm.
and Beer Nuts made like the best save of the playoffs on that for the tie. And so, I mean, just a bunch of shit kind of went wrong at the wrong times.
Yeah, no, that's tough. That's tough. I mean, like again, you guys had a really good team. Edmonton had a very good team too. So, and then either way, you would have ran into that nasty Sioux team. So, but yeah, no, I was just curious. Like Game 7 line, was that the line that you wanted to put out? Was that your guys that you would have sent? And sounds like it was.
In season 40,
Yeah.
there was actually a lot of drama behind that.
Oh, okay.
So in season 40, we pretty much sent out everyone we wanted to. Obviously, we wanted to put Brett in there because that would have completed the line, but he was recommended by his doctor not to look at the TV
That's
due to
fair.
his concussion.
That's fair.
So we threw in Briarly instead. And statistically, Briarly didn't have the best game, but realistically, at the time and now, I still think he was our best natural left D option to put in that game. Butter wanted to play, but I thought that it'd be better have someone who plays lefty on a more consistent basis. It ended up not working out, but I think with all the shit that happened in the game, it could have been the same either way.
Yeah,
So I
for
don't really
sure,
have
for
any big
sure. You
regrets.
can't, yeah, you can't worry too much about that. If you went with the guys that you wanted to go with, like part of me was thinking like maybe, hey, maybe there was a chance that like, when you get to Game 7 lines, there might be an availability issue where like the guy that you want to play can't play, right? And so it
Yeah,
sounds like you had your guys, so that's good.
yeah, we sent the top line with one exception.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Uh, and then let's talk about this season quick. Like, I mean, you built another really good team. I really like that team. I thought you guys were gonna do some good things in the playoffs, to be honest. And going into playoffs, you guys had a tough last night, losing that second seed, and then having to match up against the Bulldogs instead of the 67s. Kind of just give me the vibes on like how was that team feeling going into playoffs? Like, I know you lost the round against Hamilton, but how are you guys feeling? Because I know like it must have sucked, going into losing that second seed and then having to play a good team like Hamilton. But like, how are you guys feeling? How are the emotions? Like, did that have anything to do with the losses, or what do you think contributed to the 4-1 loss against Hamilton?
Um, in terms of the 0-5 that we had to end the regular season, I would say emotions were generally pretty good before that 0-5 because our line went 2-0-1 against three pretty solid lines the first night of the week.
Hmm.
Then we win the first game of the second night, and we're thinking like, okay, like it would be pretty hard here to lose everything to Mississauga, especially considering our weak competition on Tuesday. But then we ended up going 0-5. Um, we were pretty dumbfounded. Um, the boys and I have our own Discord, and we were all very upset at what transpired on that Tuesday. In fact, I believe someone in our friend group called that it was going to happen. So going into playoffs, I put a message out in our Discord, and I'm like way too nice. I never really like to call people out, but I basically like said, if you play like that in the playoffs, we're going nowhere because we like needed a wake up call at that point.
Hmm.
And I thought that after that, they definitely put together a competitive game against a solid Wizza line in game two. They lost 3-0, but before their second goal, before Hamilton's second goal, I thought that game was very competitive. So I thought they definitely took what I said into account.
That's
And
fair.
I never intend to cause any sort of offense. I never intend to hurt people's feelings, but I had to say something because that was like the worst collapse at the end of the season I might have ever seen in any team that I've been on.
Yeah, and you guys had some winnable games too. I remember because I was following along with my corner show. You guys had some winnable games, and Mississauga had a pretty tough schedule too. So it was kind of the perfect storm there for both teams there for that to happen.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so this one is a question that you were not prepared for. As everyone should know, I do send questions to the people I'm interviewing to let them prepare so that, it makes the interview flow a little bit better. But this one you did not get. I need to know what made you more upset when Dezingle team swapped me for Guelph for Everett, or being forced to move from Niagara to Victoria.
Well, to Everett, 100%. I was like beside myself. I'm not kidding. I was like in tears.
Dude, when I made that move with Zingle, he was like, I'm like, let's go, man. Are you gonna do it? Are you gonna do it? He finally did it, and he's like, yo, he's mad. Like he's really mad at me.
Yeah. No, like basically, we won the Kilrea with that team, and I'm like, we made this team our team. We made Guelph relevant again. Like, I want to be here forever for the foreseeable future. And then he did that without even like discussing it that much with me. Like he discussed it with me, but he never really like went too far into depth of like really how I feel about it. It was kind of like, I said like I prefer not to, and then he did it. But that hit me hard. Like it was bad.
Yo, but the uniforms in Everett are tight, man. They're so
Yeah, that
nice.
was the reasoning,
I
and
know.
also
I
because the
sold
W
it.
is weaker. But
I sold it to him. Yeah, you know what? And like for me, I'm so glad you guys did it because like that was the season when I had Everett was the 4 game a night season. And the way that schedule works out, like there was some nights, like almost every week, we were playing the same team twice in the same night. It was just
oh,
like it
that
was
would
such a
blow.
grind, man. So I wanted out of there, and then I wanted Guelph back, and Dezingle made it happen. So and then yeah, I heard you were upset, and then I have to assume you were a little bit upset this season when the Bogs or Buck were like, "Hey, we're mixing things up, and you don't have a choice. You're going to Niagara. You have to drop Victoria team that you had for 2 seasons and had success with."
Just to elaborate a little bit more first on the Guelph to Everett switch. It hit me so hard, I genuinely contemplated quitting for a minute. I was that emotionally distraught when it happened. Obviously, I got over it, but
Yeah, sure.
for the moment, oh my god. Um, but with the force swap to the O, I actually thought like the idea of trying to even out the leagues skill wise is a reasonable one, but there are two things. One, um, they give each manager a rating as to how good they are as managers, skill wise, so on and so forth, and they tried to average it out among both the leagues. I'm not going to reveal any ratings because I'm not allowed, but
Yep.
I thought some of the ratings were definitely a little bit skewed because, in my opinion, we were then swapped into the better OHL. I think the OHL is much better than W.
Yeah. Yeah, it was yeah, it's interesting. I like the idea too. But yeah, it was definitely I think I agree. I think it was a little bit challenging in the O. Um but they tried it. I just feel like it kind of sucked like losing the team that like I said, you had two really good seasons with Victoria, I thought, and um just like not even having an opportunity. Like it's just like, yeah, you're going to Niagara now. And yeah, I just didn't know if that made you upset at all and if it competed with the Guelph thing, but obviously it didn't.
Yeah, the only thing that made me mad about this season was Niagara was actually being held hostage. The club was being held hostage by some rando. I think we got like call up to the A or something. So we didn't have the ability to join the club. The guy who owned the club like wasn't able to be contacted. So we had to make our own club and pray to God that we'd be able to get our hockey bags with jerseys and logo and everything. And thankfully, Brody, did his thing and it worked out for everybody who had to make new clubs. But I was very fearful for a bit that like we wouldn't have our actual equipment.
Especially like that late in the season, eh? Like
Yeah.
for the game. Yeah.
I
No,
remember I was trolling a little bit in the manager chat, like, come on, like, we're gonna get our jerseys or
no, play with
I was,
practice jerseys all season.
oh my god.
All right, sweet. Who do you think is the most underrated player on your team or a player that maybe doesn't get enough credit for their skill?
Um, thinking about that, I'm actually kind of between two.
Okay.
I'd probably say one of them is Bomber because I know people know he's good, but recently with the beta and just messing around in club, um, we've kind of been playing a little bit of position roulette, just trying out some different things. And going from him to anybody else on raid D is such a drop off. It like destroys my brain. I hate it. So I'd say he's probably one of the other. Would probably be Farabuzz because like this past season he hasn't put up a ton of points, but Luke is always great defensively, great puck management, and very smart. And I love playing with him. So I'd probably say it's between those two.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, Bomber's a solid defenseman. I know, like, maybe it was last season or a couple seasons ago. I was playing a few games with you guys just for fun at night, and he was awesome. And then I remember the one time we were matching up against you guys, and Bomber sent me a picture of his hand. He had sliced his hand open. He was playing with like this cut open hand or whatever. He's a good dude too. So,
Wait, no, that wasn't Bomber.
oh, it
I
wasn't
know
him?
Fug got his hand open.
No, come on. It must have been Bomber.
No,
Oh
I don't remember
shoot,
that at all.
you don't.
I have the chat open. I see Fug in the chat. Yeah, Fug was trying to cut open his garbage can with a hacksaw or some shit and then sliced his hand wide the fuck open.
Oh,
Came
see,
to trauma.
So definitely Bomber. I just looked through my chat. Bomber sent me a photo on January 4th of a hand sliced open. He said it was his, so maybe he was just lying to me. Maybe he's getting in my head.
I don't remember that.
There you
He
go.
might have. I
There
don't
you
remember
go.
that. I know Fug did for sure. And then we've had IRL
kind
injuries
of
every single
kind of an
season.
issue then, eh? You got a little injury bug going around your team or what?
Yeah. Yeah, so season 39, Fug sliced his hand open with the saw. And then season 40, Brett had that concussion during the playoffs. This past season, Carms works in construction. He hammered a nail through his thumb, barely missed a bone. And I don't know. I mean, like we get IRL injuries every single season. It seems like I don't know what the fuck is the issue.
That's hilarious. Thumb too. You can't be hurting these thumbs out here.
Yeah, shit went straight through. Like he sent us a picture, like literally, like from
Oh my god.
outside to inside of the thumb, straight through.
It's tough. You
Barely
got to
missed a
tell
bone.
your guys to chill out, man. You need them for game nights. They can't go out and hurt themselves in real life, man.
Sorry,
Um,
tell people to do that.
stay home. Don't get hurt. If you don't leave your house, you can't get hurt. Um,
That's the AHL lifestyle right there.
that's right. That's right. What team, as a whole or manager, was the worst to make moves with this season?
Uh, I really don't like to talk about that. I mean, like I can, but I don't know. I kind of feel shitty just like calling people out saying you suck to talk to. It just doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, see, it tends to be teams that don't talk as the ones that get brought up the most on here on this show. It's like, hey, I reached out to these guys and they never respond back. But
There were definitely a bunch of those this season, but there were two. There was one that there was only one manager we were allowed to talk to, and he'd never respond. And then the other team, we were trying to get this one guy like for ages, and he just kept like teasing, but not actually like being open to it. So frustrating. I want to name names,
you're
but
not gonna name names.
I'm too nice. I mean, I can.
Do it. Just do it.
But,
Just one team, one manager. You can do it. Come on, it's just one. You're not gonna ruin your relationship. They've
okay.
probably already been mentioned. Probably if you've had an issue with
And
somebody,
I'm
I'm
mentioning
sure
someone
they've
who's
already been
going to.
mentioned.
Yeah, I'm mentioning someone who's definitely been mentioned. Vatty's very unresponsive. I'll give you that. I think a lot of people would
Okay.
agree with me.
All right. I mean, he seems to be pretty responsive at the end of the season when he sold his whole team away.
At the end,
Just gave up on his team at some point. I thought he still had a chance to make playoffs when he did that, but yeah, I think he was really trying to make sure that he made the most moves this season. That's for sure.
that's quite the goal to go for.
Right?
That should
Um,
be in the record book. You know how they have like the points,
yeah,
penalty minutes, all that shit. That's just got to be in the record book somewhere.
I agree. I agree. Manager record book. Um, Now this question got asked in the chat. And I had already planned to ask it, but we'll ask it here. So let's talk about favorites now on the way out here. Who's your favorite to come out of the W? Who's your favorite to come out of the O? And who's your favorite for Mem?
Okay, so my favorite from them, I'll just say straight out, is Kingston. Um, I think they have at least two like almost guaranteed win lines, and even if they're pushed to seven, they have a line which is very hard to beat. they can be beaten, but they're very hard to beat. Um, I would say I'm gonna say it's probably going to be OHL regardless of who comes out. I think any of these O teams that are currently still in it can beat any W team. And I think the only W team that can truly like contend against the O teams, like have a really good chance, is Victoria, assuming this game 7 they come back and win it here with all the booting that's been going on.
Yeah, so that's a real thing. Has anyone confirmed that? Like that they're actually playing a game 7 secretly somewhere? They recalled the game?
I'm pretty sure they are because game 7 is not on the site anymore. It's like well, it's on the site, but it's the score was wiped.
That's wild. So one thing I'll say to that is that Victoria team was very, very vocal in the show box about being able to provide very good proof that something was going down. And they must have, because I'm very surprised to see that they overturned the game for that. I personally like it because think about it, game 7, you want that to be a good game. And understanding that it probably was not Portland doing it, but like somebody trolling. Like that's just not fun for either team, to be honest. But I didn't think they'd overturn it. That's pretty crazy to think that they did it. That tells me that there was some good proof, and I guess they might have put their money where their mouth was in the show box.
Very true. See, I see Turtles asking, I'm saying Victoria, but what if they still lose to Portland? I think if Victoria loses to Portland, it's no matter what.
Yeah, yeah, Kingston. I would agree with you there. But who do you, if Portland gets through Victoria, who comes out of the W?
Hmm. I would probably say it's between Seattle and Portland then if Portland wins.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Those are two really really good teams. Awesome, awesome. And if you could change one thing in the league, what would it be?
Just one because I have multiple.
Yeah, like if they're like, hey, SMS manager for a day of the league, you get to make one change to make this league better. What would it be?
Okay, so back last season, I was in the change committee, which is a Discord among managers and Boggs and whomever else that you can sort of post ideas for changes to the league in there, and there's like an open discussion. There's Xbox and PSN people in there. Pretty sure that was totally disbanded for this season, unfortunately. But now they have it, so if you want to suggest anything, you have to PM the Boggs on the site. It really sucks because it's nice to have that sort of open, immediately interactive discussion via Discord instead of having to post, a thread on LG, which might not get as much traction,
Mm-hmm.
um, or might not get as much attention from the actual Boggs people who run the site. So one thing I recommended in that would be a change to the resign system because there are people who do not belong on the CHL on very, very cheap contracts, and they could be re-signed and protected, you know, and that re-sign multiplier, right? It goes 1.0, then 1.1, then 1.2. So you multiply their contract by that number each re-sign season. You can have them for up to 4 seasons. There are 3 re-sign seasons, and you multiply the current contract by that amount, and then you round up to the next 250K.
Mm-hmm.
So what I suggested was, say there's a player who surpasses the CHL management criteria, not a manager, but a player won in bidding. My recommendation was that player, if you wanted to re-sign them, you should change the multiplier system. So if they have a season which is above management criteria, then that multiplier increases. So instead of 1.0, 1.1, and 1.2, maybe you can make it like 1.5, 1.6, and 1.7 or something. So for example, let's say the first season they don't do too great, so they resign for a 1.0. Then their second season they, have a godly season where they go, 22-2 and break out and have the most unbelievable season ever. Then it would go up to 1.6, like the second number on that scale. And you can kind of swap back and forth depending.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the reception to that was generally not bad,
Mm-hmm.
but I believe, if I remember correctly, that it would be too much new coding for the site to be able to handle that. So that would be my
Interesting.
change.
Interesting. I like that take actually. I'm not gonna lie. I don't mind that take. But I mean, as you were going on there, part of me is like, and you let me know what your thought is on this. Like, Hey, if we're saying managers can't come back to the CHL, they have to go through bidding with those kind of numbers and whatnot. Like, why not just take the re-sign away from those players and make them force them to go into bidding?
Because I think if you get rid of resigns, then you're not going to have many returning managers. Right? It's going to
Of
be pretty
those
hard to
players
bring people
specific, you
back.
mean?
Yeah, so like, if you run a team with so and so who surpasses the management criteria, and that person is then forced to go up to a higher league, like, are you going to want to come back if that guy was the main driving force behind your team?
That's fair. No, that's good. That's fair. Yeah, I like the multiplier idea. It's funny when you mentioned that went through the multipliers. I don't even know why I did this. We were playing NHL last week at some point, and I was going through the multipliers, and I did this big spreadsheet to say like, at what point does somebody cost too much, and it's never like going up by 1.1, 1.2. Like you're only really going up at the top like a million ish, right? Like
It
it's
only
really not a
seriously
big.
affects the top of the top payments.
It's never a really big jump, right? Like it's not at any point. So I think maybe that needs to get reassessed because um yeah, like you said, you can keep guys cheap. So okay, interesting, interesting. I like that. Okay. Usually right now I'd open it up for the chat for questions if they have any, and I mean if there is any that come through, definitely leave it open to you if you want to answer them. But while the chat, so chat, if you have anything, just fire them in the chat box here, and I'll read them out. But while they put them in there, all of my guests get to ask me one question. Do you have anything to ask me?
One thing I would ask you is, like, how do you balance um, like work, managing, and media? Like, how do you have the time to do all this shit together?
That's a good question, man. You know, I don't know. I make it work. It is extremely busy managing the team. One on top of that, like working and like doing my show on game nights. It gets pretty busy. Lucky enough, I have the opportunity to kind of work from home, kind of make my own hours sometimes too. So on my lunch breaks, I'm usually on the LG site starting to prepare my show. When I get home from work, I finish it up, eat dinner, do my show, and then if I'm not playing that night, then I'll just hang out and hang out with my family and whatnot. But yeah, LG game days are very busy for me. But there, like I said in the past, like I love doing this. This is a passion of mine, right? So it's not like it's extra work for me. There's some nights where I get home from work and I'm like, this is crazy. Like I don't know if I can do it, but I find a way to do it just because the community for me has been great. Like I've had no toxic interactions with anybody. I've had a lot of fun, and a lot of people have been extremely nice to me. So I love doing it. And even the days where I don't feel like I have enough time to do it, I find a way to do it because I just enjoy it, man. It's a passion of mine. So it's tough. It is tough. It is a lot of work. So people who are thinking to get into media, it is a lot of work if you want to do it. And yeah, I just love doing it. And there'll be a time maybe some of this stuff fades off. People aren't interested anymore. And that's when I would stop. But for now, I'm gonna keep doing it for sure.
So you've had no toxic interactions?
I have had very minimal, if none, toxic interactions on any of my shows.
Oh, on a show specifically. Okay.
Yeah, like in general, right? Like, and I'll be honest, like I'm not a guy to like I'll stir shit up with people and have some fun, but like I try to be pretty understanding and calm when it comes to that stuff. And I can have a fuck you match with somebody and the next day just shoot the shit with them too. Like I don't hold anything against anyone either. So
Fair enough.
awesome. All right, let's see. I think there was some just as we started talking here. Bug asked a question for sure. Question for Jackie Boy. Should Fug be allowed to manage/own next season?
Absolutely not. You're way too good. Get the fuck up to the AHL already, like you were before.
Bye, Fug. See ya. Um, I think Cupid's having his own conversation with Bug about the playoff percentage. It looks like.
I see that.
Is he
Um,
asking if playoffs count?
I believe playoffs do count. I believe they do count for management eligibility.
Hmm. Because that could, I don't know, did Bug lose any games in the playoffs? He must have, I think, in this last season, right? Or series, right?
Um, he
I don't
went
know.
3-1 in the playoffs, so that is
Yeah, I don't think
record
it's going to be
of
enough.
it's 24 4-4 for the
Ooh,
entirety of regular and playoffs.
that's together.
Yeah.
That's gonna be pretty close, is it not?
Let me check. That's
It
48.
definitely lowers his percentage. And I think Fug said earlier too that
He's still above. Just checked.
he's still above. Damn it, Fug.
85.7.
You need to lose another game, bro.
Yep, Cupid calculated it too.
Oh man.
Yeah, so now you're ineligible for the next 6 seasons.
It's too bad. Fug said it was gonna be SMS, Fug, and Dezingle. Confirmed. Season 43.
That'd be pretty funny.
Even though he already confirmed that I was gonna be with him at some point too. So I don't know what this guy's doing. Just flirting with everybody. All right. I don't know, chat. Is there any more questions that you have for Mr. SMS here? Give them a second. Thanks for doing this though, man. Like, and I have all the dealings that I've had with you have been great. I think you're an awesome dude. You're an awesome manager, fun to play with when we've played on off nights, and I hope that you keep doing this for the league. I really enjoy you being part of it.
It's very kind of you to say. Thank you.
Worries. All right. I think we'll leave it at that. Appreciate you wanting to hop on the show. Had a lot of fun today and learning about you. Got a lot of good insight. I have to apologize for taking your Guelph Storm and almost making you quit the game. But I think that's a Dezingle apology, and he definitely owes you that one. So.
Oh, dude, once he realized like the emotional impact it had on me, he felt so guilty. And I started feeling bad. That's probably that probably helped me get over it, honestly, because how bad he felt because of me.
That's awesome. But yeah, no, thanks a lot for joining today, man. I appreciate it. And best of luck next season.
Thanks, same to you.
All right, man. Take care.
Bye.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. That was a great conversation. So happy to get back to doing these interviews again. It's been a while. And I'm super excited to get some more in. And our next one coming up is on Sunday at 7 o'clock EST with Mr. Fug84. I can guarantee you this is going to be a great, great show. Make sure you tune in on Sunday. I think you know what? It kind of sucks because it's a long weekend in Canada, but there's definitely gonna be a VOD. You guys can check that out. Wednesday, 8 p.m. doing an interview with a new manager RTC, who had a little bit of a Cinderella story himself. We'll talk a little bit through that, WJ season to now, maybe understand like, hey, what did you learn this season, and then moving into next season. I'm working on scheduling a few more interviews as time goes by, but the only other thing I have scheduled right now on Thursday, September 22nd, I will be hosting the award show. Going to be a great time. I hope to have a lot of fun. I'm very honored to be able to do something like this. And I couldn't have done it without the people that have supported me and followed me. And I'm looking forward to that. So more news to come out about Kahuna's Cup. I got the signups ready to go. So check the Discord for that. And I should be posting them either tonight or tomorrow, the sign up sheets. And then, just we lock in a few more interviews here as time goes by. But hopefully you guys enjoy these interviews, and I'll keep doing them. And have a great weekend for the folks in Canada. Enjoy the long weekend. If it's a Canada-wide, Ontario for sure, it's definitely a long weekend. And have a great night. And we'll be back here on Sunday with Fug84. Should be a great one. Have a good night, guys.